going on YouTube? Mr. Football here, and today I wanted to talk about my first year in coaching football and what that was like. So my first year in coaching, and we'll kind of just recap that year all in itself. And that year was 2014. I've been doing this a little bit now, and a lot of you that have followed my channel for a while were there when I first started coaching, but you really didn't know all the ins and outs. So now I'm going to kind of go back and revisit what my first year was like and try to give advice to those of you that are just getting into coaching, whether it's in the sport of football or something else. We're going to talk about those things and what basically my first year was like, and kind of what you should expect in your first year. Now, everybody is going to have a different scenario about their first coaching and or teaching job. Everything's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's in different situations. Obviously, there's thousands of school districts out there that you could work in all around the nation, but where I started was at a very small rural town, and I had a lead into that job. Had actually interviewed there when my very first interview, didn't get that job. Well, I got called in later on to for another job. It wasn't really what I was looking for my first year, but I had to take a job because it got to the point where I ran out of leads. I didn't have anything on my license other than being able to teach health and PE. So I got called in to do biology and basically do ALE science, alternative learning science, basically for the high school. And so that's what I did. That was my job. And part of the coaching part of that was to coach Pee Wee football. And so it was 5th and 6th grade football. It was basically one team. I had full control of that. I even had, assistants already pretty much lined out that were parent volunteers. That was my first job. When I went into, talk and meet with the head football coach, he was also in my meeting where I got hired, and I would be helping out on Friday nights by basically filming. So that's how I started my first, first thing. I got hired real late. It was about a week before school started. And those kind of things happen all the time to where, they don't fully get everything worked out. I mean, I had to be basically on sub pay for the first couple of days. So it's not all, it's not all perfect. And I don't think anybody's first job is ever perfect in any way. I think there's a lot of growth that you have to have as a young coach. And now that I look back on those, years where I've had now, I've had a lot of growth. But to kind of elaborate on what that first year was like, it basically kicked off with football season right then and there. And, I had very little time to prepare and pretty much just had to go in. I spent about 2 days with the high school team and tried to figure out what they were doing. There's no way that I was even close to what they were doing. It wasn't like I had to adapt to their system or what they were currently doing. And once I finally got in there and figured out what they were doing, I was doing it all wrong. But I did my best. Going into it, I didn't have a plan to, basically be a head coach at any level. I was just figured I'd be an assistant. But I was a head coach from the beginning. I had to lead my little 5th and 6th grade team out there and execute with them. And that's what we had to do. And for what it was worth, we did fairly well that year. There's some things that I look back on now, and I think I could have, if I would have just known this, I could have done so much better. And that's the ultimate thing that I've found in coaching, is each year you learn more. And one day it just all clicks to you. And, you think you know when you first go in, but you really don't know. And that's kind of what I've learned from this, is like you think you know how to do it, and somebody shows you a different way, or you see it in a different way, and it changes your whole perspective. And I think that's the most important thing in coaching and learning to adapt. You can't just take something that you did in high school and apply it to what you're currently doing. And every situation is different. I can't pick the players that I had. I recruited them basically to come out and play. I walked into a team of 30 kids and they were like, yeah, here we are. And I'd not been even in the school yet. And so that's kind of what happened. And so, you go through that whole first season with that team, and I really bonded with the team, and that was the team that I put all my heart and soul into, And, we practiced quite a bit for that. And they got a lot of practice. I don't feel like they got really good by the end. But, with the high school team and the younger teams through there, the junior high and the seventh grade, I had no part in other than just filming their games. But every Friday night I traveled with, wherever we went, whether it was a home game or it was an away game, I went and traveled. And it was a fun first experience, but it really, to me, it almost doesn't count in that way that, and it wasn't until the next year that I fully got into it. But I learned a lot, and I didn't know what I was doing. And that's the honest truth. When they would tell me, like, if you see something, don't be afraid to coach it. And it's just like, well, I'm not really sure what I'm even looking for. And that's the hardest part, is taking away from, kind of the fans' perspective of a game and watching it to really breaking it down to the coach side. And I don't even know if, and I think it takes a long time for a coach to develop that, and to see the play and to see, how it all works together. And I think the more experience that you get with it, the better you get, just like practice makes perfect or anything. But that's really my first, there's so much more, there's so many little intricate things that happened my first year that have really shaped me. There's just so many things, and I can elaborate more kind of at a later time. I did want to get this video out and just say, hey, I kind of want to start something for young coaches. I've been doing this, going 6 on to 7 years now. And it's kind of been it's been a whirlwind of a coaching, basically everything I've done. I feel like I haven't done it all, but it's like, once you see it from a few years down the road, you really look back at yourself and think, wow, this was my first year, and it's hard to believe that you've come this far. And there's no 5 years ago, the knowledge that I have right now is so much greater. My first year, I just didn't have that knowledge, and it's hard to get that. But that's what I want to use this channel for. I want to talk to you guys. I want you guys to interact with me, especially if you're a young coach and you're new to coaching in itself. And it's such a different world than anyone can ever expect to go into. You think you want to be a coach until you really get into it, and it's so different, because it looks like a lot of fame and a lot of glory, and it's not. In 6 years of coaching high school football and being a part of it, I've not had a winning record. And that's just like, and you might think, well, why don't you just go to a different school? Man, it's not that easy. Moving's hard, especially when you're trying to start a family. And so you try to build things from where you're at. And, many years ago, I would have thought, I would have been at a really high paying job, and maybe I would have been, this, or it's totally changed. And the things that you think about now going into coaching, like if you're just now first getting into it, you're going to change. And maybe you still have dreams and aspirations, and that's fine, but you get leveled out pretty quick. And I'm a veteran at this point. I've seen it all, I feel like, and I really truly haven't seen it all, because I'm still, not even 10 years in, but it's hard to believe just how fast time goes and how fast it flies, and just all the different experiences that you see and that you get. It's unbelievable with, just today's modern world of coaching, and just how many resources are out there. And I want to be one of those resources to you guys, and I want to elaborate further, and talk about what you can kind of expect in football if you are if you're going to be a first-year assistant coach, what to expect. And that's kind of my next video that's going to come from this, just to give you guys a heads up. So this is kind of what my first year was like. There's more stories and all that kind of stuff. And I think the one point I wanted just to elaborate on for the final time is, like, you think you know what you're getting into, but you really don't. And there's so much learning that's going to take place over the next few years. And when times are hard, you've really got to look back and see not everything's going to be perfect. And so you got to make it work, and you've got to find the positives that you're seeing through the growth of you as a coach. And that's what has helped me ultimately to get to where I'm at today. Because, I've moved from assistant coach now to, varsity level coordinator. And so, I'm working on the next step up. So there's all kinds of things that, will one day lead to me getting a little bit better job. And so that's just kind of how you have to go. Everybody has to start off at the lowest part of the totem pole. It's just part of it. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this was somewhat helpful to those of you that are trying to get started. Please check out my Instagram. It's Mr. Football Coach, and that will take you to my Instagram page. Please like the stuff on there. I try to post on there as much as I can. It's kind of hard right now. I'm transitioning to a new phone, so it's kind of hard to, I haven't even logged on to Instagram in a while. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you got any comments, anything else you want to know, leave it down in the comments section down below, and we will see you guys next time. Mr. Football out.